name's Tim Stevens. I have 24 hives. I live in Newport. I'm a beekeeper. It's an awful affliction. It's a lot of fun. It's addictive as hell. A couple of things. Bumblebees aren't honeybees. Bumblebees, very small colony, about 100 bees maybe. They don't produce enough honey for us to harvest. Wasps, again, not honeybees. They're the yellow ones you see. The ones down below on the stand, they're fairly brown little honeybees that we keep. So, the wasps are meat eaters, so they're eating midges and stuff like that. The honeybees are vegetarians. They're only taking nectar from flowers. They take pollen from flowers as well, and they bring them home to the hive. They're one of the few things which have a colony. Ants and honeybees have a colony which will survive the winter. Most of the ones will have one that's only summer long. That's the bumblebees and the wasps. They'll put a queen into winter, which will come out and build up again. There's solitary bees and wasps as well. They would be, they'd bore little holes into wood, and they build a little nest in there, and they work their way from there. Now, for beekeeping, there's four main types of beehives. You have framed beehives, where we put a frame inside the hive, and the bees work on that, and that's what they live on. And that's so we have control on them. You have top bar beehives. That's where you just have the top bar. So none of the side bars, none of the wax, nothing else, just the top bar. Then you would have just cavity hives, which would be like the old type ones, skeps. And basically you put your swarm of bees into the skep, they build their home in there, and then if you want to get the honey out, generally you have to kill the bees. But our way you don't have to kill the bees, so it's an improvement. And then you have the wild beehives, which will live in walls, and they'll live in trees, big old trees and stuff with a hole inside. Now, inside the hive we have three different types of bees. We have the queen, we have the drone, and we have the worker. The workers are all female, and they do all the work. Not a good life. The fellas are only there to reproduce with the queen, and the worst life in the world, but then at the end of the year they're all kicked out the door and left to starve, so not too hot either. And then the queen, who is basically the heart of the colony, she lays about 2,500 eggs a day, and that's more than her body weight every single day that she lays. She is basically the mother of everything. The whole thing revolves around her. She has no control over it, but everything revolves around her. There'll be about 50,000 bees in a hive in the summer, about 20,000 in the winter. The queen, like I said, is not the boss. She's just basically a typewriter, 2,500 a day. The jobs they do. Now, the worker bee, when she hatches, she's the girl, the one who does all the work. She'll start off hatching from one of the cells in wax. She'll look around at these. She'll clean out the cell first, then she'll start working on producing the honey. Nectar comes in from the bees who are flying outside, the collectors, the foragers, and they will reduce it down to the correct percentage of water. Honey has about 80% sugar, 20% water. The nectar that they get can have as little as 15% sugar. The rest of it's all water, so they have to get rid of that somehow. So what they do is they put it on the edge of the cells and fan at it to reduce the water. After that, they'll do a bout of working as feeding the larvae, what the egg hatches into, and it gets capped over. They'll then start working at wax, and they'll start capping over the wax, and they'll start building out new wax from foundation. Foundation is what we put into control. And that one there is just freshly drawn out. It's not filled yet. And this is what it looks like when it's filled. It's quite a bit of weight. The capping, that's the capping over honey. The capping over brood, you'll see it down at the box down below, is more domed and it's a little bit more colourful. This is pure white colour. The problems that they're facing at the moment, they're facing mite called varroa. Varroa, to put it in context, if the bee was the size of a cow, the mite is about the size of a cat running around on top of it, and it sucks the blood out of it. And as part of that, it spits into the blood, and that passes viruses to the bees, which is one of the main problems we're having in Ireland. It's not the same problem they have in America. In America, they have a different problem, which is that they've got monoculture, they've got the varroa as well, but they've other stuff as well going on. They're still not quite sure what's going on there, but we just have varroa, that's our main problem. Then you have a couple of other diseases like American foul brood and European foul brood, which would be bacterial diseases. It's just basically rot in the hive. a couple other bits and pieces. One of the main problems with bees is beekeepers. We're one of the biggest problems. We brought bees from China, we brought the raw mite with us. We swap in bees, we're breeding them around the place. The Africanized bees because of us. So we're one of the main problems. And the other one is, of course, the weather. They can't get out in the sun, they can't forage. Some plants, like one of our major plants for getting honey from is clover. So clover needs about 20 degrees before they'll give out any honey. How often do you get that? Especially when clover is flowering. So that's one of the main problems for the bees. Now, swarms. Everyone seen swarms or heard about swarms? Big pile of bees stuck up in a tree. Everyone going, ah! That's just them trying to breed. You've got a beehive and it's static, it's not breeding, it's not producing more beehives. So what they do is they kick the old queen and about 15 to 20,000 bees out the door. They go off full stomachs and they go off ready to make a new home. They find a new cavity somewhere, probably in a wall, because we've chopped down all the big trees, so they get into our way. And they're very quiet when there's a swarm because they're all full of honey. There's no interest in stinging. If anyone stings, they die. So it's not going to help them. If you see a swarm, look up online for Irish beekeeping. Find a phone number, call a beekeeper. The beekeeper will turn up. He's perfectly happy to turn up because he gets free bees. So they don't have to be a problem. They don't have to go into someone's roof. Generally, they'll find somewhere that's about 30 litres, about that size, for a home. So if you think their soffit fascia is about that size, the cavity wall is about that size, and so are the holes in the big old oak trees. They're all gone now, so they don't have much of a choice. Now, how could we help bees? We can plant flowers which the nectar is good for them. So you can plant clover and stuff like that in your farms. If you were putting down tillage or anything like that, you can plant basically simple flowers. Like if you're buying begonias or something, if you buy a begonia with a simple flower, the bee can work. So if you buy a big fancy one with all the petals, the bee can't get in. They can't get any nectar, no pollen, so it's basically a desert for them. The interesting thing is that cities are very good for bees because of the amount of gardeners and because of the lack of pesticides being sprayed and stuff like that. So it's the planting that you do, even in a little window box, can make a huge difference to the population of pollinators around it. Not just honeybees, bumblebees and wasps and everything else. So they can all get a benefit out of that. If you can avoid spraying pesticides, or if you have to spray them not over flowers, spray them at night time or in the evening time when there's no pollinators around to get hurt, you know. And you can plant wildflowers, you can do all manner of stuff. Anything to introduce a bit of colour and to introduce simple flowers so they can get a bit of benefit out of it. Now, that's a national beehive. That's what I keep. I'm going to show you the bits and pieces. We have a roof. It's a fairly standard roof, it's just to keep the weather off. We have a super. A super is where the bees put honey. We have a brood box. That's where the queen is kept. We have a little mesh underneath the brood box to stop the queen. To stop the queen getting up into the honey. And that's how we manage to rob the honey. We made them put it in a special box for us. Now, these would be the size of frames. Let's see, they're just the same size. And normally they'd have wax in. In super, which is where the honey would be, the frames are much smaller. Because we find that in Ireland, honey flow comes in quite slowly. You get bits and bits and bits. So you don't want a big frame, because then there's a big cavity on top of them, and they have trouble heating it up. And in a full hive, about 50,000 bees or so. In a little cube box like this, which is just a 6-frame hive, that would have maybe 15 to 20,000 bees in it. And you buy those if you want to start beekeeping for about €120 with bees in. They make wax. And you can refine wax. Wax is an absolutely fabulous product. It's used in woodworking for polishing. It's used in cosmetics for lipstick, for mascara, all manner of stuff is used with the wax, and it's quite sought after, especially very white cappings. They like that rather than comb wax, which is a bit dirtier. The honey, obviously everyone likes honey. We get it out by spinning the frames. So we use centrifugal force to spin the honey out, cut off the top end, and we keep that for the wax, and then we spin it out. and all the honey comes out. We collect it up, and basically the beekeeper doesn't actually touch it, doesn't change it, doesn't heat it, nothing. It's about as close to nature as you can get. Absolutely ideal for if you have asthma, mild asthma, or if you know, run a field, there's no bother. But I eat my own honey local honey, so I get all the pollen from that, and I find it helps an awful lot. And propolis, not that known about, but if you have a look, you'll be able to see it properly. You see all the kind of brown goop? They collect that. It's basically made out of tree sap, and that's what the bees use as an antibiotic inside the hive. It's antibacterial, it's antifungal, it kills basically everything that it contacts. So if you're looking for like Manuka honey, it's fabulous for you. That's the right dog. It's actually antibacterial. Manuka honey that's brought in is actually heat treated. It has to be for the import. So if you're looking for stuff that's actually actively good for you, go for the local honey because that's not heat treated. Get as close to the source as you can. So that helps with that. Now, bees, they cannot see everything that we can see. Their vision is quite limited. They can't see red, for example. They see that as black. But they can see into the UV spectrum. So if you actually had a look at a flower under UV light, there's little arrows on most of the flowers showing where the nectar is. So if you have a look online, you'll see photos of that all over the place. And you'd never think of it, but it's there. Yeah. Have you ever heard of the waggle dance? It's how bees communicate to each other. They'll fly off, they'll find a source of good nectar, they'll come back to the hive and they'll dance. What they do is a little egg-shaped dance, and they vibrate on the upstroke of the egg-shaped dance. It's one of the few creatures who actually communicate with each other. Not just like, I'm being attacked. Like, here is a source of food, it is X direction away, go and get it. And they use the sun to tell how it works. So the direction is based on how many degrees it is from the sun. They waggle more for a longer time based on how good the source of pollen or how good it is. So the longer they're doing it, the better it is. They have two different dances. They have the waggle dance, which is the egg-shaped one, and they have the round dance, and they're for different distances. The waggle dance is anything more than 100 meters from the hive, and it's very specific. It says it's that direction, go out there, it smells like this, out you go. The round dance, it says there's good food within 100 meters of the hive. So that's the one everyone worries about. If that happens, then all the bees go out the door looking for what's, and there's no direction at all, they just fly around until they find it. That's about it. If you have any more interest in it, look up, there's the beekeepingforum.co.uk. It's very good, it's quite knowledgeable. Look up Irish beekeeping, talk to your local associations, go to a meeting, join. It's fascinating, addictive, expensive. About 500 quid to get started. So
is it labour intensive?
Sorry?
Is it labour intensive?
It depends how much you want to put into it. I'm quite addicted to it. So I spend a lot of time online looking at stuff. Realistically, you get by about an hour a week per hive. No problem. The more hives you get, the less time you actually need to put in because your setup time is less. But about an hour a week per hive. What you're really doing is you look through the hive to make sure it's not swarming. That's how they're breeding, because that makes you a pest to your neighbours. Because you suddenly put this ball of bees up in their tree. That's what you're aiming to avoid. And if it swarms for us, they get less money because half the workforce went off to form a new group. So that's your main thing that you're looking to stop. For about an hour or 2 hours a week, there's no real problem in the summer, and in the winter, basically nothing.
Are there many hives around Westport?
Yes, there is. There's about 120 beekeepers. I think there's an order about 450 to 500 hives around the place.
And they're fairly new,
yes? Would be basically in the Mayo area. There's Ballina Club as well, and I think there's Ballyconnor.
Is it new in Westport, yeah?
New in Westport, 3 years old.
3 years old.
The third or fourth biggest.
So they weren't here before then, no?
No.
That's good.
There's the Ballina Club, which has been in existence for quite a while. But the Westport one is quite fresh. It's only 3 years old.